per 9000's game room.
With how popular the Switch is, at times I'm surprised that even more isn't ported to it. I know people think the machine is just full of ports. There's a lot of stuff, particularly on the 3DS, that I just don't think got enough of the look in. One of these games is Weapons Shop Omasse. I purchased it during a indie sale, and to be honest, at the time I grabbed 3 or 4 things, as the sale was pretty good, and you know, you just get carried away. And in all honesty, I might not have played it for a very long time, but one night I was suffering with really severe toothache and I needed something to try and occupy my mind. Now, to provide a little background about the game, the Guild series was a bunch of small indie style games produced by Level 5 for the Nintendo 3DS in cooperation with various game designers. Originally 4 of these games were released in Japan on a cartridge as a compilation. Over here in Europe though, these games were released as individual downloads. 3 of them came out during the fall of 2012, but one of them, Omasse, didn't make it to the eShop until February 2014, basically because it needed a lot of translation. I had at the time followed news about these games, but I don't tend to like to pay much for digital games. Heck, a lot of the time I just ignore digital stuff altogether. But then I do love a good sale, and so when there was a particularly good indie sale I jumped on and ended up with this game. As soon as you start the game up, you can see why it took longer for it to come out over here. It's a very text heavy game, but it is also a pretty original kind of game. The game is set in a sort of typical RPG world, a world in which you would usually find yourself dropped into with a dagger and dungeons to explore. But there's no exploring here. The whole game takes place inside a weapons shop you work in as an apprentice blacksmith. You don't go out into the wild to slay monsters or hunt for treasure. You're not a hero. This is like a sort of reverse game. It's like someone was playing Zelda or Final Fantasy and entered a shop and wondered what it would be like to see the game through the eyes of the shopkeeper. I know that might sound crazy to people who haven't played this, but trust me, it's actually a very fun and interesting game. So you start off in the shop able to make a handful of weapons. Non-player characters visit you and tell you that they need a weapon to complete a quest with. Now your shop has come up with this novel approach where you don't sell weapons, no, you rent them out to people. People come tell you they need a weapon and then they leave. After this you have a bit of time to make a weapon for them before they return and ask for it. Soon you'll find that you have returning customers, and the more they come back and the more they rent from you, the more you get to learn about them, their character, their story, and the wider story of the world around you. The game is a very story heavy game. Yes, there is gameplay to it, but the gameplay is very simple and it's not what keeps you playing really. It's the story which keeps you going. So the gameplay is a mix of basic decision making and rhythm based gameplay. So someone will come in and say they need a weapon, and you work out what weapon to make by reading into why they need it and what kind of thing they prefer. And then you make it. You do it via a rhythm game. Basically you have a large hunk of metal laid out on your work table and you see the way you should tap it. It might be tap 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 or tap, pause tap, and whatever it is you need to do it. The better you manage to do it, the better the weapon will turn out. If you make the right weapon for the right person and do a good job, then it will help that person to be successful in their quest, and they will return the weapon you rented them and they will pay you. Give them a badly made incorrect weapon and they will fail their quest, and you'll see neither your weapon returned or your pockets lined. Right weapon means a successful quest and payment to you. But loan out the wrong armament and you might not hear back from your customer again. You will find yourself getting wrapped up in people's stories. You want to see them come in again to find out how they're getting on and what they are up to. In conclusion, I think that Omasse is a great game that not enough people have heard of, and that's why I wanted to do my part to make sure that more people hear about it. I also think it's a very kind of niche game, and it would work exceptionally well on the Switch. The Switch has the touch screen needed, it has an eShop to reach the customers with, and you know, when there's a game here which could probably move from one platform to another, not many people will have heard of it before, and you can get another go around at getting more people's money, why not? If you have a 3DS and you've not played this, then go see how much it is now. It's a great game. It's not amazingly long, but it's something a little bit different. It's something I'd highly recommend, and again I really think this should be brought to the Switch. Okay, that's Kerr9000 signing off saying keep on gaming.